It's Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
You still trusting the process in Philadelphia?
Oh, no. I'm not the dude for that. I never trusted the process. I never liked the process. As far as I'm concerned, the process was idiotic, and it was robbing the average fan of decent competition. This franchise was losing on purpose for years and stealing money from the citizens of Philadelphia. The bottom line is Joel Embiid is the real deal, but Ben Simmons, I'm sorry, I hate to say this because he's an ultra talent. He's a jump shot away from being LeBron James as far as I'm concerned, but he has no shot, no confidence whatsoever. He's only great on offense when he's going downhill. You got to trade him. You got to trade Ben Simmons. It's really, really that simple. Him and Joel Embiid, that experiment is over. We've seen enough. Ben Simmons has to be moved.
I love him.
Speculation.
I love how he's just like on his. So ESPN producers just called him like, "Hey, can you just
FaceTime.
like get on FaceTime from the arena floor?
You know the great
and
thing?
just rant about Ben Simmons."
Stephen A., the greatest thing, and I mean, he is a marketing machine for himself, but the best part is, I don't think he ever says no. Like, they could call him at 3 a.m. and say, we're doing a SportsCenter special. Grab your phone, pull the covers up to your neck, and we're going to do a hit. And he'd be like, okay.
I dropped a Stephen A. Smith line at the wedding on Saturday when they
He's
said...
available, and good for him.
They said, well, you're going to get a couple cocktails, and you're going to start debating sports. I said, I don't debate for free. I pulled the Stephen A. So I was like, no,
and
I
they
don't.
didn't know.
I
They
said,
thought this-
I don't. I said, in the words of Stephen A. Smith, I don't debate for free.
But if you buy me like a half a cocktail, all right,
Yeah,
all right,
but then-
all right,
then I'll
I'll
start
talk about
rambling.
you.
Then
I'll start
going.
Okay, all right.
And it shouldn't be debating. It should be, I will listen to you for $5. Like, I won't debate you. I'll debate you for 20.
I will
But
nod
for
a couple
$5,
times.
Give me 5 right now, and I will listen to your take and nod and be like, okay, cool. And then I'm done. $20, I'll debate you on it.
For 20, I'll feign interest. For 50, I'll offer some thoughts back. So, everyone this morning is talking about not just trading Ben Simmons, but just the inevitability of he's going to be traded, right? So,
Reckless speculation.
So we'll get to our statements today on this Monday, Mackey and Judd. We've got Purple Daily conversations on our other daily podcast. But boys, usually Thursday is reserved for reckless speculation around here. But with everything that's been percolating around the NHL, Jack Eichel, and the NBA after last night and the entire series debacle by Ben Simmons, I think it's time we
Reckless speculation.
dive in on a Monday here. So let's talk about two players here before we get to statements. Jack Eichel and Ben Simmons. And let's start with Ben Simmons because he's the hot topic. I mean, Ben Simmons took 0 fourth quarter shots in the last 4 games of that series. Would you guys consider buying low? Now, just for some context, a year ago at this time, or actually it was more like because the calendar was shifted. It was like last November.
Yes.
There were discussions behind the scenes between the Timberwolves and a number of teams, including Philadelphia, about trading the number 1 pick for Ben Simmons. And it probably would have been a 3-way deal and somebody else gets the number 1 pick. But these are conversations that have taken place before. The price is probably a lot lower now. Would you consider picking up the phone and buying low on Ben Simmons?
And on both of these stars, when it comes to the Wolves and Wild, there is a legitimate case to be made that they are in. Like, so like this is not a. I feel like we have different potential areas of reckless speculation. Right,
like we need like a green, orange, and a red.
Well, like I might say to you guys,
Threat level at an airport.
Yeah, no, true. But I might come in and say, Simmons would be great here, and you guys might be both like, well, they're not trading for him, but it'd still be fun to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So like that's sort of Mackey and Judd. We are literally recklessly making this up because it's fun. I feel like the path we're about to go down here now, you guys, is legitimate. Like, no, the Timberwolves, the Wild can be in. Like, if they want to be in, they're in.
So what if we started with just like 3 categories? Like we have category 1, it's like a hurricane. Category 1, category 2, category 3. Category 1 is just a harebrained theory that we are throwing out.
Yellow.
Like 3 or yellow. So yellow. What would the colors be? Yellow, orange, and red, I guess.
Deshaun Watson. We just threw that out.
Yeah, it's yellow.
Or 3 years ago, I think where reckless speculation was really born officially on the Mackey and Judd radio show. We floated the notion of Miguel Sano for Chris Archer at one point, like
Yes.
3 or 4
Right.
years ago, and that was just our harebrained theory of, would you consider this?
Correct.
So yellow is theory, orange is probasketballrumors.net or something. Cited somebody with a blue check mark. Was it Evan Massey, whoever that guy was? But it's not a
Forbes, man,
word
okay?
bomb. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like there's some smoke. There's some smoke.
Yeah,
and
there's
then
smoke.
and then red would be no. These are actual conversations. This is a reality. So these Jack Eichel and Ben Simmons, I think, would be like orange into red territory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very fair.
Okay.
On Ben Simmons, okay, it's tempting, but I don't think that they're going to give him away. I think the price tag is still going to be more than we would expect. And with where the Wolves are going and with what he just showed, and by the way, an incredibly important platform. Like, I mean, this is not you had a tough series. This is a continuing problem that he has had ultimately lots of times in the most important series playoffs that he could be in. I would not give the Sixers, if I'm the Wolves, and look, I mean, I'm trying to improve. That team is, I think the Wolves can be a contender to be in the top 10 and get into the play-in for sure next year. So I think improving.
Such a high bar.
So I think, I mean, think about that. But I really do believe that they have the potential if they make the right moves. And Ben Simmons, yes, at times can be a great player. But here's the problem. His shot's just broken. And like he tries to fix it. And the dangerous thing is he does at times fix it in a gym in July. So then you're like, oh, look at that. Oh, I saw him on a summer game or something. But does that translate to the most important time when he is literally going to the basket for what should be like a slam dunk and he passes the ball because he so badly does not clearly want to try to shoot?
Well, he doesn't want to shoot the free throws. Yeah,
well,
that was
right. But I mean, I just don't believe that that's the type of player that I'm going to give up the haul that the Sixers are going to try to get for that guy. And look, if you want to go down the path, gentlemen, of a frustrating player, we've had it. Wiggy, okay? Because, I mean, the guy had talent. He definitely had talent. There was skill there. But what happened? There were shortcomings in his game, and some of them were mental, just like with Ben, to the point where you felt that you couldn't trust him, and you were right about that. So I am out on this one, although it's a great one to talk about.
All right. I'm in on this one with a couple conditions, okay? So I know there's going to be some people, and by the way, let us know if you disagree.
We're getting at
with
it
us.
already on Twitter. This is a reach, boys. It's a slow time of the year.
Did you?
That's what we're
Did you put something up on
it's
the
posted
Score on Twitter?
It's
Okay.
it's on Twitter and Facebook.
I think they'll talk to him.
And Instagram.
I think they'll talk to him.
This 100%, just to be
This phone
clear,
call.
okay?
Yeah.
Gerson Rosas, friend of the show, okay?
Friend of the
he
show.
came on our show about a year ago, and he said, listen, I mean, we pick up the phone, like, we literally will just float ideas by teams all the time. Because we asked him, of the things you guys talk about behind the scenes, you've got the trade machine guy in your front office, like the guy that created the trade machine for ESPN.com. He said, oh, that's awesome. Let's hire that guy. And I said, how many, like, what percentage of things that you float behind the scenes? I think Judd asked this question. Do you actually pick up the phone and call someone? And he said, about 50%. So these conversations absolutely happen. 1 year ago, it was the number one pick. That was the conversation. What would it take to get Ben Simmons? Former number one pick. Yeah, he's got a broken shot, but he's this just unicorn 7-foot ball handler who can rebound. He scores inside. He plays defense, right? Like, he can guard almost any position on the floor. And last year, the conversation was number one pick. That's not the conversation this time around. Like, you would laugh if they picked up the phone and said Anthony Edwards and whatever it would take to match salaries with a 35, because he's owed $35 million a year on average for the next 4 years because he just signed a max contract. I think this is just my own.
Reckless speculation.
The Sixers need a ball handling and offensive centric guard. Like, there's going to be all kinds of names floated. Think about the guys who make a lot of money that are maybe a little bit disgruntled or have hit a glass ceiling in their market. So think about Bradley Beal in Washington. Think about both, I would say, Dame Lillard. I think Dame stays with Portland, but like, these are the names you're going to hear. Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum. Well, you know who else falls into that category? Not on the Dame level, but like a guy who could fit in that category. D'Angelo Russell. his salary fits. And if you look at the stock of Ben Simmons dropping, and okay, no longer can you pick up the phone and ask for the number 1 overall pick or a prospect with a ceiling like an Ant Edwards without getting laughed at. I think, anyways, I would if I'm Gerson Rosas, I would never entertain trading Ant Edwards for Ben Simmons, not in 2021 NBA. But I think Simmons, if you were to swap D'Lo for Simmons, and I don't know if you'd have to include other teams. I don't know if the Sixers would look at that as enough of a stylistic change and upgrade to pair with Joel Embiid. But from the Timberwolves' perspective, Ben Simmons would come in here, and you'd have to get him to fix his he's got to feel comfortable at least shooting some mid-range shots like Chris Paul. Like, you can't not shoot, and you can't make 34% of your free throws or whatever it was for a stretch, right? But he would come in here, and he would essentially devote his entire existence to making Cat and Ant better as players. He doesn't need to take 15, 16 shots a game. His entire existence is make the people around him better, play great perimeter defense. He wants to distribute to shooters, right? Now D'Lo can play off the ball. D'Lo can play second or third guy, but in D'Lo's core, he wants to shoot like 20 times a game, and he wants to be the guy on that team, right? And so I think you're going to have a D'Lo-Ant problem at some point, and Ben Simmons would fix that problem on paper, and he would fix the Wolves' perimeter defense. Ben Simmons, Cat, and Ant, to me, is a better trio, and you would be a better team instantly in 2021-22 than D'Lo, Ant, and Cat. So for those reasons, I'm in if I'm on Shark Tank right now for reckless trade speculation.
I think
Reckless speculation.
in theory, I think it fits really well, but here's my concern. I think Ben Simmons, when it counts, is mentally broke, and I don't think you're getting it back.
But but at least he helps you get to the games that count.
Right, but then he's going to choke, and he becomes the thing about it is so in 2021-22 in this league, I'm with you because there's only a certain amount of shots to go around, and now point guards are hybrid players, so they can obviously shoot. It's not the old school point guard guy, but I need my point guard to be able to be a consistent threat, but know his role, know the fact that he needs to be, at times for sure, pass first. The problem is, and the Sixers have encountered this, you get to a point where it's a huge game and Ben Simmons needs to be a threat, and he actually just melts down because he doesn't know what to do, and he's so mentally broke. That's my problem, is if he was still young, and heck, we used to talk about this, can he fix it? Because at that point in time, you thought he probably can. This, to me, reminds me of Steve Sachs or Knobloch not being able to throw to second base. Like it's something in his brain is not firing. And that's a really bad place to be. And opposing defenses in big games know that. And so now he's zero threat. So that's why now, if I could get him at the right price, Phil, I'm in for sure. But I'm just saying, I don't think the Sixers are going to give you the opportunity to rip them off. I think that they are still going to say this guy has, as you pointed out, incredible value. We want X, Y, and Z, and I don't think I can give them that for a player that I know in the biggest moment is going to melt down.
Real quick, you mentioned it's like a Steve Sachs or Chuck Knobloch, like old school throwing yips problems. So Kevin O'Connor, our friend from The Ringer, tweeted this out. So Ben Simmons shoots left-handed. He shoots left-handed. Okay, that's his jump shot is a left-handed jump shot. Ben Simmons took 95 shots in the playoffs. 67 of those shots were using his right hand. 19 shots using both hands, so dunks, I would guess. And only 9 shots using his left hand. In his career, over 70% of his shots are righty. Simmons in 2016 said, quote, "I think I was supposed to be right-handed." So he's right-handed in everything else that he does. But he shoots the ball, like free throws and threes, he shoots the ball left-handed. And so, listen, but here's the thing. Even with him having a broken jump shot, and by the way, he's as bad as he was in the playoffs, he's like a 65% free throw shooter when he's not melting down against the Hawks in the playoffs. So it's not as bad as it was for his career, but he's, even with his deficiencies, this is my final point, and then Dex, you can break the tie. Even with his deficiencies, he's a better player. Probably, if you look at win shares, he's like twice the player that D'Lo is, because he's so great as a lanky perimeter defender, a rebounder, getting other guys open looks. And Philadelphia hasn't exactly, like this year they brought in Seth Curry and they had some more. They've had JJ Redick, but it's not like Philadelphia with Embiid and Simmons, and they didn't always have great shooters around those two guys too. It's always been kind of a weird fit. It's a little bit like Ricky Rubio. Like Ben Simmons is a taller, better, more blue chip version of Ricky Rubio. And Ricky Rubio, when he played around guys who couldn't shoot, looked terrible, right? But when you put him out in Utah or out in Phoenix and you get players around him that make sense, boom, those teams start to win games. So I'm saying like Ben Simmons with Ant, whose shot is getting better, and Cat, who's one of the best shooters in the NBA, and Beasley, who's one of the best shooters in the NBA. To me, like it's an immediate, if you were to swap D'Lo for Ben Simmons right now, it's a huge upgrade, and the Wolves are not only just a top 10 team, but they're like in the top 7 or 8 in the Western Conference starting in 2021-22. Buy low.
I don't think they do that, though.
The
You
Wolves?
guys?
You don't think the Sixers?
I don't think the Sixers make that trade. Like, I think the Sixers want more.
I think the Sixers
Straight
have
up,
to trade him. They
do, but somebody's going. But it's not like all teams are going to be out now, so it's going to be a competition. And I don't think D'Lo for Simmons gets it done. I think D'Lo is a starting point, but I think it's more than that. And that's the question is. And personally, I'm not going to give up a lot more.
Well, if the Wolves do get one of the top 3 picks, let's say it's 3. Let's just say it's number 3, and it's D'Lo and that 3rd overall pick for Ben Simmons. Do you pull that trade?
No,
that's too much.
No,
can't do
zero
it.
chance. I'd rather have
roll.
whoever the Wolves are going to get as a young, cheap player and add that to this nucleus.
Yeah.
I don't, and I know why you're bringing that up because a year ago that was the value of Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like, but and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think it's laughable to suggest that the Sixers would get a top 3 pick for Ben Simmons after what we just watched. Like, what now? Could there be some sort of 3 or 4 team trade where? Ben comes to the Timberwolves, and then D'Lo goes somewhere else, and then it's like Beal that goes to Philadelphia. Yeah, like that's the way most blockbuster trades work in the NBA. You get a 3rd or a 4th team in. But if the Wolves do keep their pick tomorrow night in the draft lottery, then you keep your roster intact for the most part. Maybe go get Miles Turner to play the 5, and you add a game changing piece for $6, $7, $8 million a year on a team controlled contract.
I'm curious on it. I think you could possibly make it work, but I mean, Simmons also is going to be making some serious coin because he's already hit some of his like bonuses in his cap being all NBA 3rd team. So his cap hit next year's 33, and then it goes up to 35, 37, 40 over the next 4 respective years of that contract, which would make him the highest paid player, like even higher paid than Cat, who's on a rookie max deal as it is too, and D'Lo, who's on a max contract as well. So just making the money work, I think, would be incredibly difficult with the nucleus of Cat, D'Lo, and Ben Simmons. So most likely D'Lo goes away in that trade.
It would 100% have to include D'Lo.
I'm also out on potentially super mentally fragile people. I'm tired of it with this team. Like Cat has his Cat things, and you know what? If Cat's your one guy who he's a great player, but he's a little bit fragile at times, I can tolerate that, and I think Ant can help because he clearly is going to emerge as a guy who's probably going to be the voice of that team. That's awesome. But after what we've seen, do I really want to bring in another guy who, when the going gets tough, literally just shrinks? I mean, Ben Simmons didn't this wasn't a small problem. He shrank completely. I mean,
Jimmy
I'm
Butler,
tired of it.
I would want to read Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid's text thread if the Timberwolves acquired Ben Simmons to pair with Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, I'd love to hear to see those texts.
I would love to hear Jimmy's thoughts on the whole thing now, like playing here with Cat and our guy Wiggy going to Philadelphia.
You know his thoughts. He's
playing
public
with Simmons,
about his thoughts.
Playing with Simmons, right? But I mean, like the whole play-by-play of because he basically got traded from one team where he didn't like the makeup of said team. And he was right. I still disagree with how he went about it. And then he went to another team that had some of the exact same issues with players.
Yeah, but now he doesn't. Now he doesn't like the makeup of the Heat.
Oh, he's nuts.
He's a fraud. And I get that they went to the finals and he put up a ridiculous game. But
he's got problems too. I would just like to hear. I'd like to hear the whole thing. I would. But yeah, I can't do another guy who's going to basically shrivel up and not do his job when a team needs him most. I'm tired of mentally weak people, coddled society. Let's stop it. Let's get some mentally strong people in here. That's why I like Ant Edwards.
All All right.
But it's a great talker.
Great talker.
And it's not going away.
Nope.
Okay. The other winter sports team here. So the New York Post had an interesting little twist on these Jack Eichel rumors and reports that are coming out. So New York Post said, in addition to the usual suspects, including the Ducks, Flyers, Wild, Kings, and maybe the Rangers, there is a previously undisclosed entrant in the hunt for Jack Eichel. The Blackhawks have taken a ticket at the deli counter in communicating their interest in the 24-year-old center, who's in the midst of a divorce in proceedings with the Sabres, while possibly facing a tricky surgery to repair a herniated disc. In order to succeed in its quest, Chicago's offer would have to feature Kirby. Is it Kirby Dach?
Yes.
The 20-year-old,
Yep.
the 20-year-old center who was drafted third overall a couple years ago, et cetera, et cetera. So now Ducks, Flyers, Wild, Kings, maybe the Rangers, and maybe the Blackhawks involved in
That
these
dog
Jack
hates the
Eichel
trade.
Yeah,
that dog outside in Seattle hates the Eichel trade.
Big dog's
I
got
just
to
want
eat.
to keep the
Kraken.
window open once in a while. Get a cool breeze.
You know
going
what the
through
dog
studio.
wants? Eichel on the Kraken.
Yeah.
Dog's like, BS about Minnesota. Shut up out there. Who are you?
So are you guys? How do you survey the Jack Eichel landscape here? It sounds like a trade is going to happen, but are you still interested in the Wild doing something for Jack Eichel?
Dex, do you want to
Yeah,
lead us off?
I'm in on it. I'm in on the idea. There's still some vetting that has to go into his process of his neck injury. There's some off the ice question marks too that people have thrown out there just about his work ethic. And is it Buffalo being a terribly run franchise, which I am more leaning towards than I am Jack Eichel being a problem in that room. Bill Guerin definitely knows good character when he sees one, so I know he's going to do a good vetting process on if Eichel can fit into that mold and be a person in that locker room for them, because he obviously, just as a skater and just as a hockey player, he makes you better. That's clear. That's pretty damn clear. He's one of the best centers in the league, but he's got some demons in his past, and I'm curious if the Wild are a little scared to do that. But the Wild have more resources to make a trade like this and make it work than the Timberwolves do. So we're just throwing out D'Lo mostly because of the money and because it would make sense from that standpoint with the NBA's salary cap situation. With the Wild, they have 3 first-round picks over the next 2 drafts. They have Kevin Fiala who can make it work. They have arguably one of the best prospect pools in the NHL still. So like the resources to get someone like Jack Eichel are a lot more sustainable and achievable than the Timberwolves have of trying to pull off a trade for Ben Simmons. So yeah, I'm still in on the idea. I know I'll probably have to give up Kevin Fiala, and that's a kind of a tougher pill for me to swallow, but you also have to spend to give. So if it does cost Fiala and one of the first round picks and maybe a lower tier prospect or mid tier prospect, I'm probably in on that trade.
Yeah, but it's going to cost you more than that. I'm telling you, they're going to want Fiala. They're going to want. I think they might want both of your first round picks and another player. But here's why more and more. And look, this is fun to talk about. I mean, this stuff's great. I love the speculation. It's completely, it's reckless.
Reckless speculation.
No, I think these talks are taking place. But here's why I'm out. The more I think about this, Eichel is going to have neck surgery. Okay, and I mean, when it comes to Hunter and his neck problem, what's the one thing that we've been talking about because of his contract? It's a concern. Like, you're coming off hockey and football aren't nice little sports. They're huge contact sports where your head gets jarred a lot and your neck definitely gets jarred quite a bit. The asking price for what the Sabres are going to want for Eichel when he's going to have a surgery that I'm not 100, like, you can't guarantee me it's going to be fine. You just can't. It's not your fault. You just can't. So given all of those circumstances, as attractive and seductive as this might sound to do, I can't do it because he's going to still have surgery. I don't know when he's going to be available to play. I don't know if he's going to be the same player. I mean, just think about all of the variables that go into what the asking price would be. If he was healthy, I'd probably give him a lot and do it, but he's not, and I can't guarantee he's going to come back as the exact same player.
I wrestle on this one because anything that you would give up would involve gutting your depth, right? Gutting number 1 picks that could help you in the next 3 years, gutting Fiala. And so I guess I would kick the question back to you guys. If there was a world in which your depth was meh, but you had Eichel and Kaprizov, and then you wouldn't be giving up everybody. You'd still have now the expansion draft might gut you further, but can you win a Stanley Cup with Kaprizov, Eichel, and then a meh supporting cast. I suppose if you've got a top 5 goaltender in the playoffs, but like, do you go that top heavy route where you've got 2 dudes who are going to just make a ton of money?
No. You need depth. Look at the teams that are left right now. Look at their fourth lines. Their fourth lines are good. They're contributing a ton. Mm-hmm. So I can't. It's not like basketball where, you know what, I've got 3 guys. I am set. This is a sport where depth, especially in the playoffs, where it is literally a game of attrition. I mean, you are in that sport. Guys they get hurt left and right and don't play in games. So no, I think if you want a cup, your center depth needs to be improved. And it would be great to have a number 1 clear-cut center who you said could play with Kaprizov, and he's great. All of that, though, is not worth saying. We got Jack Eichel, but we just gave up 2 key pieces potentially to our future, Fiala and something else. And I just think somebody is going to give Buffalo a lot. That's what it comes down to. With Simmons and Eichel, I really believe that those teams are going to once we get past how things have gone, like in the playoffs and how bad that Simmons was against the Hawks. I think the Sixers are going to get more than we expect. And like, I can't be the guy just giving that to them for the sake of what would be a really fun press conference.
Yeah, I mean, I also, when it comes to anything involving the Timberwolves, I'm always viewing it through like the best possible case scenario, which never happens with them. So
Reckless speculation.
I'm a fraud. So take everything I say about the Timberwolves with a huge block of salt.
I'm the one that said they could be a top 10 team. They could be in the plan
top
next
10
season
in the West.
In the West. Yeah, not top 10 in the NBA. No, I'm just saying they'd be in the play-in tournament.
They could be a top 20 team in the NBA. Be very
How
excited.
much? Again, I will ask you this, and Phil, this probably comes back and impacts you the most because you are the biggest NBA guy on the show. As you watch these playoffs, like, can you even in your head get your head around the fact that like the Wolves are in this league? Like as big of a long shot as it might seem. Like when you watch the Hawks, dude, when the Hawks and Wolves played on MLK Day, they weren't that far apart.
Well, and
as far as record went,
the Wolves beat the Jazz twice, and I get the Jazz. I think the Jazz might have been without Donovan Mitchell for sure in one of those games, maybe both. So grain of salt there too. But I watch these playoffs, and we can talk about this maybe tomorrow or Wednesday. But I watch these playoffs, and it actually gives me way more hope for the Wolves than at any point in the last 15 years, because you're seeing these teams without you don't have these dynasties anymore. Because LeBron and Anthony Davis are both aging and getting hurt, and the Warriors are aging, and now the Warriors are they're gonna do something, and they're gonna be back, and they're gonna try and maximize like the last 2 years of Steph and Clay at their peak. The only real super team in the NBA right now is Brooklyn, and all 3 of those guys have major injury history that prevented them from advancing to the conference finals, right? Mm-hmm. So. Again, I'm not thinking about the Wolves on a championship level by any means, only in my dreams, but the league is so ripe for teams to go from close to the bottom to at least winning a playoff series or 2. I mean, guys, the Hawks were like a 20-win team last year.
Yes.
Yeah. They were not good. The Suns asterisk, they added Chris Paul to the mix, and Chris Paul is an all-time great player. There is no such move really for the Timberwolves to make. Like Ben Simmons, I think would be an upgrade over D'Lo, but he's not Chris Paul. But they did go 8-0 in the bubble without Chris Paul last year. So it's so wide open if you scheme it right, and Chris Finch seems to have a mind for how to scheme in the modern NBA. If you've got that sort of combo guard like Ant Edwards can be, who can handle the ball, who can drive to the hoop, who can shoot, distribute, and you got some bigs who can. Their biggest problem is defense. Like they don't understand help defense. They don't understand the effort that it takes. And you watch watch the Clippers in the second half of that elimination game. I mean, my God, without Kawhi Leonard, and they're just swarming, right?
But if you have a training camp, and I'm not trying to imply it would be perfect, but if you have a training camp and practices, which they basically didn't have, to work on things, because it strikes me as defense ain't fun. So like that's actual practice and teamwork, and it's not just skills. But I mean, if Finch knows what he's doing, and this is the first time, Phil, in how long where what you said about this league now applies. I mean, it feels like up until now, basically, the entire time that we have done this show, going back to day one, it was always about dynasties, right? Or the teams with the 3 best players. Like, you knew who was going to get through. And that's not true now. So it's really cool. I mean, it's fun to watch. Yeah, I haven't had this much fun watching the NBA playoffs in years.
Yeah.
The other thing that just makes it so much more wide open is the Mount Rushmore of great players of the last 5 or 8 or 10 years. They're all getting old now, and so there's just more volatility. There's more, like, they're going to erode. Steph Curry's going to be 33, I think, when next season starts. LeBron's 36, going to be 37.
Wow.
KD looks amazing, but KD's also a year removed from a torn Achilles tendon, and he's in his early 30s. So Dame Lillard is 30. So there's a window here for the next 3 to 5 years for guys like Ant to step up. No longer will LeBron be blocking, well, right now the Western Conference, but whatever conference he's been playing in, mostly Eastern Conference. I don't know. I just call me a Wolves apologist and homer all you want, because it's true, but I just see opportunity in the Western Conference here, and the Wolves are onto something interesting with what we saw in the last month and a half of the year.
In the words of Dane Moore, friend of the show, weirdest team ever, which he made shirts. He literally made shirts. Weirdest team ever.
He had some stuff to cover.
The 2021 Minnesota Timberwolves, weirdest team ever, man.
I love it. Boys, I'll tell you, one of the least weird teams ever is Dennis Kirk. Dennis Kirk has their stuff buttoned up if you're a rider. If you like to ride motorcycles, sport bikes, whatever it is, Dennis Kirk is here with 160,000 parts and accessories in stock. And with summer was heating up, and now it's sort of cooling down. And then summer will heat up again at some point.
Wednesday.
But
it's coming Wednesday.
It's riding season in the Twin Cities and the greater area. So order before 8 p.m. They ship the same day, and shipping is free for orders over $89. When the open road calls, head to DennisKirk.com. They ship today.